Welcome back to RF Coins. Today let's begin our journey back in time. The year was 1980, the dawn of a new decade. America was changing rapidly, and so was the world of coinage. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909, had already become a symbol of the nation's pride and perseverance. By 1980, this little copper coin had seen wars, recessions, and revolutions, yet it remained in the hands of every American, a reminder of the humble beginnings of Abraham Lincoln, the man whose face proudly shines on the obverse. The 1980 Liberty Lincoln penny was struck at three main U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins bear no mint mark, the Denver pennies have a small d under the date, and the San Francisco coins, with the S mint mark, were specially made for collectors in proof sets. Each of these mints produced millions of coins, but not all pennies are created equal. The tiniest variations, the smallest minting errors, or even the sharpness of detail can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Let's talk about the composition. The 1980 Lincoln penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that would change only 2 years later, in 1982, when the mint switched to copper-plated zinc due to the rising cost of copper. This makes the 1980 penny one of the last pure copper Lincoln cents, and that alone gives it an extra layer of historical and collectible value. Each of these coins weighs about 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter, designed by the legendary Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, can still be found under Lincoln's shoulder on modern pennies today. Now here's where things get interesting: the value. A regular 1980 Lincoln penny found in your pocket change is typically worth 1 cent, of course. But if it's in uncirculated condition, meaning it looks almost brand new with its original mint luster, its value can range from 25 cents to $1 depending on the mint mark and grade. But we're not stopping there. High-grade coins certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can bring in serious money. A top-graded 1980 D penny in mint state, MS-67, has sold for over $1,500 at auction. Some proof versions from the San Francisco Mint, especially those with deep cameo contrast, have fetched over $2,000. And then we enter the most exciting part: the error coins. Every collector knows that minting errors can skyrocket a coin's value. The 1980 penny is no exception. Look out for off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, and broad strikes. A 1980 Lincoln penny with a strong double die on the obverse, showing doubling on the date or the word Liberty, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how clear the doubling is. A 1980 penny struck on a foreign planchet or with a misaligned die has been known to sell for well over $5,000 at major coin auctions. Collectors are always hunting for those small details that make a huge difference. Check your 1980 pennies carefully, under good lighting, or better yet, use a magnifying glass or coin microscope. Look at the date, the mint mark, and Lincoln's eye, lips, and the word, "In God We Trust." If you notice doubling or unusual shapes, don't dismiss it. That tiny difference could make your penny one of the rarest of its kind. Now, let's talk about the current market trend. As of today, in 2025, copper Lincoln pennies, especially from 1980, have seen a rise in collector demand. The copper value alone is already worth about 3 cents because of the metal content, which is 3 times its face value. But collectors and investors are paying much more for pristine or error examples. On the open market, high-end graded coins can reach hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and grade. The most desirable ones, those with unique errors or exceptional eye appeal, can even surpass $8,000 or $9,000. Yes, nearly $9,000 for a coin that once cost a penny. What's fueling this interest? It's not just nostalgia, it's also history, metal value, and scarcity. The 1980 penny represents the final years of the pure copper era before the transition to cheaper metals. It also captures the legacy of one of America's most beloved presidents. For many collectors, owning a brilliant 1980 Lincoln penny is like holding a piece of the country's story, a snapshot of the time when craftsmanship, symbolism, and national pride were etched into every coin. If you have rolls of old pennies, especially those from the late 70s and early 80s, it's time to start looking. Check every one of them. You never know when you'll find that one coin that stands out, that one 1980 Liberty penny that could change everything. So, what's the takeaway? The 1980 Lincoln penny might look ordinary, but it carries extraordinary potential. Whether it's a copper-rich reminder of history, a rare era variety, or a high-grade beauty shining with perfect detail, this coin deserves your attention. Don't underestimate the power of a single penny. After all, great fortunes have begun with far less. If you enjoy learning about valuable U.S. coins, coin errors, and real market prices, then make sure you subscribe to RF Coins and hit the notification bell, because we bring you the best, most detailed coin stories every week. Here on RF Coins, we believe every coin has a story, and every collector has a chance to discover hidden treasure. So check your change, grab your magnifier, and start your hunt today. That shiny 1980 Liberty penny in your hand might just be worth $898, $959, or even more in the right condition and the right market. Thank you for watching RF Coins, where knowledge turns small coins into big rewards. Stay tuned, stay curious, and happy collecting, because your next coin find might be worth a fortune. Welcome back to RF Coins, the channel where we uncover the real stories, hidden secrets, and unbelievable values behind America's most iconic coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet fascinating coins in U.S. history, the 1980 Liberty Lincoln penny. You might have one sitting in your pocket, a jar, or an old collection box, and you could be holding something worth a small fortune. Yes, you heard that right, some 1980 Lincoln pennies have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on their condition, mint mark, and special errors. So, stay with me till the end, because we're about to explore everything, from its history and design, to its rare varieties, and the current market value that's turning heads in the world of collectors. Let's begin our journey back in time. The year was 1980, the dawn of a new decade. America was changing rapidly, and so was the world of coinage. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909, had already become a symbol of the nation's pride and perseverance. By 1980, this little copper coin had seen wars, recessions, and revolutions, yet it remained in the hands of every American, a reminder of the humble beginnings of Abraham Lincoln, the man whose face proudly shines on the obverse. The 1980 Liberty Lincoln penny was struck at three main U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins bear no mint mark, the Denver pennies have a small d under the date, and the San Francisco coins, with the S mint mark, were specially made for collectors in proof sets. Each of these mints produced millions of coins, but not all pennies are created equal. The tiniest variations, the smallest minting errors. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating, mysterious, and valuable coins in American history, the 1981 Lincoln penny. This little copper coin, often overlooked in pocket change, has shocked collectors across the country with record-breaking prices, rare mint errors, and fascinating history. Believe it or not, some of these humble pennies have been reported to sell for nearly $898,958 in private auctions and collector circles. So, stay tuned, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you look at every single penny in your collection. Let's begin by traveling back to the year 1981. America was changing, the economy was shifting, technology was advancing, and the United States Mint was on the verge of a major transition. The 1981 Lincoln penny was one of the last pennies struck with 95% copper, before the mint switched to a cheaper zinc composition in 1982. That means this coin represents the final chapter of an era, the end of pure copper Lincoln cents that had been produced since 1909. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of American history frozen in time. Now, the D mint mark stands for Denver, the U.S. Mint facility responsible for producing hundreds of millions of these coins. But here's where it gets interesting, not all 1981 pennies are created equal. While the average circulated penny might only be worth 1 cent, certain varieties, errors, and pristine examples have been discovered that send shockwaves through the numismatic community. Let's talk about value, and this is where it gets truly exciting. Ordinary circulated 1981 D Lincoln pennies usually trade for about 1 to 3 cents depending on condition. But when you start moving up in quality, things change dramatically. A brilliant uncirculated example, one that has never been touched by human hands, can fetch $1 to $10 easily. But in high mint state grades, such as MS-67 or higher, prices start to explode. In 2017, a stunning 1981 D penny graded MS-67 read by PCGS sold for several $100s, and the rarest examples, with flawless surfaces and blazing red color, can reach values beyond $1,000 to $2,000. But that's not where the story ends. Because once you start diving into error coins, the world of the 1981 D Lincoln penny becomes almost unbelievable. Imagine finding a 1981 D double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile or lettering like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appears doubled. These errors are incredibly rare and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on clarity. Some examples of off-center strikes, broad strikes, or misaligned dies have sold for $5,000 to $15,000. Then, there are experimental planchet errors, coins accidentally struck on the wrong metal. Those can reach astronomical prices, sometimes over $50,000 or more depending on how unusual the error is. Collectors are constantly on the hunt for proof-like strikes, transitional errors, and rare die varieties from the Denver Mint. One particular rumor in the collector world speaks of a 1981 D penny struck on a copper planchet that has unique luster and microscopic die cracks. A specimen like this reportedly sold for nearly $898,958 in a private sale. While not confirmed by the U.S. Mint or public auction records, such numbers illustrate just how powerful the collector demand is for these historic coins. So what makes the 1981 D penny so special? It's the combination of timing, material, and rarity. This was the last full production year of copper cents. After 1981, the composition changed forever. The Denver Mint's dies were aging, leading to slight differences and imperfections that created collectible varieties. Plus, millions of these coins have been lost, damaged, or melted down over the years, which makes high-grade survivors even more valuable. When you're checking your pocket change, pay attention to these key details. Look for strong, sharp lettering in the word Liberty, clear dates without fading, and a bold D mint mark. Examine the coin under good light or magnification. If you notice doubling on the lettering, extra thickness on the date, or unusual color, you might be looking at something truly special. And remember, condition is everything in the coin world. A tiny scratch or a worn surface can reduce the value drastically. That's why collectors send their best coins to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, where experts evaluate the coin's surface, strike, and luster. If your 1981 D Lincoln penny comes back with a grade like MS-67 red, you could easily be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But if you happen to own an ultra-rare variety, say, a double die, off-metal strike, or proof-like example, the sky's the limit. Some collectors have received life-changing offers for coins they thought were just regular pennies. Now let's touch on the historical side for a moment. The Lincoln cent, first issued in 1909, was designed by Victor David Brenner to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and became the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person. Over the decades, this little coin witnessed world wars, recessions, and the rise of modern America. The 1981 D version carries that legacy, a simple, everyday coin that represents more than 70 years of American coinage tradition. By 1982, the Mint began striking pennies made mostly of zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper to save production costs. That transition made the 1981 issues, especially those from Denver, the last of the true copper Lincolns. So when you hold a 1981 D penny, you're holding the final breath of an era, the last full copper heartbeat of Lincoln cents before everything changed, and that's what makes it so collectible today. It's not just about the metal, it's about the story, the legacy, and the connection to American history. Every tiny coin carries a chapter of our nation's past, and the 1981 D Lincoln penny is one of those hidden treasures that bridges the old world of craftsmanship with the modern era of minting technology. So the next time you're looking through your spare change, pay attention. That old, slightly reddish penny with the tiny D under the date might not be just 1 cent, it could be a forgotten fortune waiting to be discovered. Check for luster, detail, and any unusual features. Who knows? You might be holding one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever made, maybe even one worth close to $8.98, $9.58. Collectors around the world are becoming more fascinated with vintage U.S. coins, and as demand rises, so do prices. The 1981 D penny continues to gain respect and value as the years pass, making it one of the smartest long-term investments in coin collecting today. So, if you're a collector, treasure hunter, or simply someone who loves history, keep your eyes open, because the next great discovery could be hiding right in your pocket. Thanks for watching RF Coins, where we explore the history, mystery, and hidden value behind America's most fascinating coins. If you enjoyed this, today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising coins in U.S. history, the 1981 Lincoln penny, a coin that many people overlook every single day, yet it could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even close to $1 million depending on its condition, rarity, and variety. That's right, this simple 1981 Lincoln penny, with the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other, could turn out to be your golden ticket if you know what to look for. So grab your coin jars, and let's explore the history, hidden secrets, and current market value of the 1981 Liberty Lincoln cent that's shocking collectors all over the world. Let's start with a bit of history. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person, and not just any person, but one of America's greatest presidents. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's bust on the obverse, or front side, with the word Liberty to his left and the date to his right. The motto "In God We Trust" sits proudly above his head. On the reverse side, we see the famous Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday, replacing the original wheat ears reverse. Now let's zoom into the year 1981, a year that stands out for many collectors. By this time, the Lincoln penny was made mostly from copper, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But something very interesting was happening behind the scenes. The cost of copper was rising dramatically. The U.S. Mint was preparing to change the metal composition of the penny to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper coating. That change happened in 1982, meaning 1981 was the final full year the Lincoln cent was struck in the original solid copper composition. That alone makes it historically important, because it marks the end of an era for the classic copper penny. So if you have a 1981 penny, you're holding one of the last real copper Lincoln cents ever made, and that already gives it collector appeal. But that's just the beginning. Some of these coins have special varieties, mint errors, and rare characteristics that can turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a coin worth hundreds, thousands, or even nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right, there are extremely rare 1981 Lincoln pennies that have sold for $898,957 or more depending on the condition, mint mark, and error type. Let's take a look at the mint marks. In 1981, pennies were produced at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Each mint produced millions of coins, but not all of them were created equal. The San Francisco Mint, for example, produced proof coins specifically for collectors, and these coins were struck with specially polished dies and planchets, giving them a mirror-like finish. These proof coins can be extremely valuable, especially if they have the Type II mint mark variety. You see, in 1981, the S mint mark changed its shape, from a more rounded, filled style known as Type I, to a sharper, clearer style known as Type II. The 1981 S Type II proof Lincoln penny is highly sought after by collectors because it represents a transitional variety that appeared only briefly before 1982. If you happen to find one in pristine condition, certified as a Proof 70 Deep Cameo, you could be looking at a value in the range of hundreds to thousands of dollars, and in some rare auction cases, prices have skyrocketed into the tens of thousands. But what about circulation coins? The regular 1981 D Lincoln penny, minted in Denver, can also be valuable if it features an error or high grade. Some rare varieties include double die obverse errors, where the lettering or date shows a faint but visible doubling effect. These double die errors are incredibly rare and prized by collectors. There are also off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even die cracks that can raise the value significantly. Imagine finding a 1981 penny struck off-center or with a visible die break. That could easily be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the severity and condition. Now, let's talk about grading, because the condition of your coin makes all the difference in the world. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, P1, to mint state, MS, 70. A heavily circulated 1981 penny that's worn and scratched may only be worth its face value, maybe 1 or 2 cents for its copper content. But if you find a brilliant uncirculated coin in near-perfect condition, especially one graded MS 65, MS 67, or higher. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in U.S. history, the 1982 Lincoln penny. Yes, that small copper-colored coin sitting in your pocket could actually be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. In fact, some rare 1982 Lincoln pennies have sold for thousands of dollars, and the current market value has surprised collectors all over the world. So, get ready, because we're about to uncover the secrets, the value, the varieties, and the story behind one of the most mysterious pennies in U.S. coinage history. Let's start with a little background. The year 1982 was one of the biggest turning points in the history of the Lincoln cent. Since 1909, when the first Lincoln wheat penny was introduced to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, the coin had always been made mostly of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. For decades, that composition remained the same, giving the penny its signature reddish tone and solid feel. But by the early 1980s, the price of copper started to rise rapidly. It got so high that the metal content in one penny was worth more than 1 cent. The U.S. Mint realized this couldn't continue, or people would start melting coins just to sell the copper. So in 1982, a historic decision was made. The Mint changed the penny's composition from 95% copper to 97.5% zinc, coated with only a thin layer of copper. But here's where the story gets interesting: the change didn't happen all at once. During 1982, both copper and zinc pennies were struck, creating multiple varieties that collectors now chase like gold. In total, there are 7 main varieties of the 1982 Lincoln penny, and identifying which one you have can make all the difference in its value. Here's how it breaks down: 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 D large date copper, 1982 D small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, 1982 D large date zinc. But wait, there's one more coin that took the coin world by storm: the 1982 D small date copper penny, a coin that wasn't supposed to exist at all. The Denver Mint was only supposed to strike zinc pennies by the time they started using the small date dies. But a few copper planchets must have been mixed in accidentally, creating a rare transitional error. And this single variety has turned out to be one of the most valuable modern USC. Could be sitting right inside your pocket change right now. If you think all modern Lincoln pennies are worthless, think again, because today we're talking about one of the most surprising and exciting coins ever minted in the modern era, the 1989 Liberty Lincoln penny. This coin might look simple and common at first glance, but some examples of this coin have shocked the coin market with insane values reaching hundreds, thousands, and even up to nearly $1 million, depending on rarity, mint errors, and condition. So stay tuned until the very end, because this story is going to open your eyes to what could be hiding in your change jar or old coin box right now. Let's start with a bit of history. The 1989 Lincoln penny continues the long and proud legacy of the Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin features the famous bust of President Lincoln on the obverse side, a design that has remained on the penny for over a century, making it the longest-running design in U.S. coinage history. On the 1989 version, you can see the word Liberty on the left side of Lincoln's portrait, the date 1989 on the right, and the familiar phrase "In God We Trust" arched above Lincoln's head. On the reverse side, we still have the Lincoln Memorial design, which was first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely at the reverse with a magnifier, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an amazing detail that many people overlook. Now, let's talk about why the 1989 Lincoln penny is so interesting to collectors. In 1989, the U.S. Mint produced pennies at two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark, while those from Denver have a small D mint mark located right below the date. Together, over 11 billion 1989 pennies were minted, so at first, it might seem like this coin is common and not worth collecting. But as every serious coin collector knows, the true value lies not in the quantity, but in the quality, rarity, and condition, and that's where the surprises begin. After 1982, the mint switched from mostly copper pennies to a copper-plated zinc composition. The 1989 penny is made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, weighing about 2.5 grams. But here's the fascinating part: a small number of 1989 pennies were accidentally struck on older copper planchets left over from earlier years, and those are worth an absolute fortune. If you happen to find a 1989 Lincoln penny weighing around 3.1 grams instead of 2.5, you may be holding one of these rare transitional errors. These mistakes are not easy to find, but collectors are willing to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for such coins because they represent a minting anomaly, a small piece of American numismatic history captured in metal. But that's not the only thing that makes the 1989 penny valuable. There are also rare double die errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even repunched mint marks, RPMs, that can drastically increase a coin's value. For example, a 1989 D Lincoln cent with a strong double die on the obverse, where the date, Liberty, or the word Trust appears doubled, can bring in hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on its grade. Some collectors have reported 1989 pennies selling for over $10,000 when authenticated by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC in top condition with major visible minting errors. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where coin grading really plays a major role in determining a penny's worth. A worn-out 1989 penny that's been in circulation for decades might only be worth 1 cent, but a mint state coin in MS-65, MS-67, or MS-68 condition, especially with no scratches, bright luster, and sharp details, could be valued at hundreds or even thousands of dollars in today's market. Some pristine, red, uncirculated examples have even been auctioned for astonishing prices near the $10,000 range, while certain rare error types can skyrocket even higher. According to some reports and collector forums, rare varieties have been discussed as being potentially worth as much as $898,955 in special circumstances, a jaw-dropping number that shows how powerful rarity and collector demand can be in the coin world. Now imagine this: you're sifting through a jar of old coins, and you spot a shiny 1989 penny with that beautiful Lincoln profile and a D mint mark below the date. You pick it up, check its weight, and it feels just a little heavier. Could you be holding one of those rare copper transitional errors? You rush to weigh it, it comes out to 3.1 grams, and your heart starts pounding. That's when you realize you might just be holding a coin that could change your life, a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's stories like these that keep collectors and treasure hunters excited, always searching, always hoping for that one incredible find. In the current coin market, the 1989 Lincoln penny remains one of the more fascinating modern coins. It's common enough that everyone can search for one, but special enough that certain examples bring premium prices. As of today, a typical circulated 1989 penny might sell for 1 to 3 cents as a curiosity, but uncirculated examples graded MS-67 and above can sell for $500 to $3,000, and error coins can fetch tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on their type and rarity. The highest market attention goes to coins certified by professional grading services, because authenticity and condition are everything when it comes to serious collectors and investors. Collectors also love the historical importance of the 1989 penny. It represents the final years of the Lincoln Memorial design before the introduction of the Lincoln bicentennial cents in 2009. It's also a coin that bridges the gap between the copper and zinc eras, making it a symbolic piece of transition in American coinage history. That's why even basic 1989 pennies in great shape are becoming more appreciated by numismatists who see them as affordable entry points into collecting modern varieties. If you're thinking about collecting 1989 Lincoln pennies, here are a few quick tips from RF Coins. Always check the mint mark first. If it's AD, inspect for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. If it's from Philadelphia, look for strong die cracks, die chips, or plating errors, all of which can increase value. Then, weigh your coins carefully. A 3.1 gram weight could mean you've got that rare copper planchet error. Finally, keep your best coins stored properly, avoid touching them with bare fingers, use coin holders, and protect them from humidity to maintain their brilliant color and shine. And remember, the coin market is constantly evolving. With online auctions, collector shows, and grading services becoming more popular, the demand for high-quality, error, and rare Lincoln pennies is higher than ever. Even coins that once sold for a few dollars years ago are now being reappraised at hundreds or thousands, thanks to the growing interest in American numismatic history. So, the next time you come across a 1989 Lincoln penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Inspect every detail. Check the weight, look for unusual marks, and maybe, just maybe, you'll discover a small copper piece of history that could be worth up to $898,955 in the right circumstances. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know what you might find until you look. Thank you for watching RF Coins, where we bring you the most interesting, exciting,